Thank you, and welcome to the Karen Mitches podcast.
We're here.
Jay Rainville.
That's me. I'm here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. You're actually one of the first people I met.
Oh,
when
really?
I started, I think it was the first show I ever did.
Okay.
You were on it. We opened for Brad Goss.
Okay. Where was that?
It was at Keys.
Oh, yes. I love Keys.
And I was pumped because I was like, there's another grown-up.
Yes, I know, right? We tend to find each other. I've noticed that. The youngins exclude us from the party.
But you had, like, I was just starting and you were telling me about, like, when you got into it, which
Okay.
was, like, before COVID. Was it during COVID?
It was during.
Okay.
I started the end of May 2021. So we were still technically locked down. So all my first shows were in backyards, at parks and
Nice.
patios. I think I did stand up at the beach once.
Fuck. So were you at the Christie Pitts Park show ever?
I think I've done it. I did it like once or twice. Different people would do shows there. Yeah.
There was just like, okay.
Yeah, it was just people were doing comedy. I had mentioned to this lady at work that I wanted to try stand up, and she knew Danton.
Nice.
And so we connected.
Danton runs comedy, or the lab.
He runs the comedy lab. Yeah, he runs
Yeah.
the lab. And so she knew him because he ran a mic uptown where I live. And then, and so we connected over Instagram. And like 2 weeks later, he's just like, hey, there's going to be a mic at this guy's house if you want to come. So I was just like, well, this is now or never. I guess I'm going to do it.
And so, yeah, you just walked into this man's house.
It was in the guy's backyard.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it was in this guy's backyard, Brett, and it was a wild, diverse group of incels, mostly. And but it, you know what? I didn't do half bad, and I was just like, I'm gonna be there next week with these crazy people. And
I take it you like left on a high.
oh yeah, like I had been wanting to do stand up like my whole life, and I finally did it, and I didn't suck at it. And so like I was like, yeah, I can do it. Like Kyle Lucy was there. Kyle Lucy was at the first mic I did, and he was just like, if that was your first time, that's not bad. And I was just like, yes, like I did good.
I love Kyle.
He's amazing.
And he's such like he's a sweet person, but also then it's interesting compared to his material.
Yeah, like he definitely likes to go into extremes and stuff, but like there's a playfulness to how he does it that allows him to get away with really dark extreme material.
Yeah.
Like I love that type of stuff. Like I think who I am on stage differs so much from the comedy that I like, which is like the people that hit really hard.
Yeah, because you would have, I would say, like more of like a natural, like obviously you're doing stand up, but you're also like a guy talking, right? Like
I'm not doing a character.
You're not doing a character, and you're not like extreme material. You're not.
No, I wouldn't say so. I think like this is what I was talking about earlier when we were talking about Adam Bloom's book called Finding Your Comedic Genius, and he talks about like how you present yourself on stage. It needs to like the clothes you wear need to align with your persona.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and yeah, my persona, because whether you like it or not, the audience sees you a certain way based on how you look.
Yeah.
And so when there's like discontinuity between that,
you have to address it.
you need to either address it or like fix it. Like sometimes it just won't work because like you'll present a different, like I remember for a little bit I was doing shows with like all black. I was like black hoodie, black jeans, like black jacket or something like that. And you know, I'm like the family, like talking about having a family. Like, why am I dressing like Dice? Like it just, you know, like I have no business looking like this.
Yeah.
You know, I try to look, but I try to.
I feel like you should always want to look like a dad who's at Costco. Like,
No, I mean I'm not wearing like flip flops and polos, but I heard the phrase like dress like you're on a first date when you're on stage, and I was like, oh, okay. So I just try to dress like casual up.
Okay, because I always think with male comics they're supposed to look really casual, but maybe I just invented that.
I mean, I don't think you should go too casual. I mean, I don't know. For me, it's like I want to be a professional, so I want to look like I'm a professional. Like I would never wear shorts or flip-flops on stage. That's just me, though. Some people do.
Yeah. I actually really like, now that you say it, the first date kind of idea.
Yeah. Yeah, people are, especially if people are coming to see you and you're going to dress like a bum and have like some stains on you or something like that. Like, no, I'm here to work.
Yeah. It's like, I think if anything too dressy, it starts to like erase your personality. There's something like.
I mean, but at the same time, you hear like guys like Seinfeld and is it Jim Jeffries who wear suits, right? And so it's almost like when you look professional, it allows you to get away with more.
Oh.
That's what they say. So I've never toyed with wearing a suit yet, but there's something to be said for that too.
Sometimes I wear like a suit jacket, but I'm wearing it with like jeans and a t-shirt.
Yeah, that's cool. Like I think that works too. But then I think I can't remember. Like Louis did a special at Madison Square Garden. He's just wearing a freaking like sweatshirt on stage. You can see the sweat coming through it.
Oh no, I was actually watching. Like I never thought about the comedians' outfits before, but then I started paying attention, and like sometimes like Michelle Wolf looks like her outfit is part of the joke, but I never even noticed that. But she'll just have like comically mismatched like the jacket to the shirt, like patterns are not making sense together.
Yeah, like it needs to make sense. Like the outfit doesn't need to necessarily make sense in and of itself, but it needs to make sense for you.
Yeah.
Right? Like I remember I saw Dave Attell like a month ago or so in Buffalo, and he was talking about how he looks like the guy that like does the parking. Like he looks like a parking attendant, and that like it crushed because it's so true, right? He does look like that, right? So, you know, I think you need to dress in a way that suits who you are, but how you dress matters. I do think it matters.
Yeah, for sure. I just blanked on what I was gonna say. Oh, you were talking about like you wanted to do comedy when you were little.
Yes.
So who was like the first couple comics you would have paid attention to?
Mike Myers and Jim Carrey. For sure.
Nice.
Like I was watching Jim Carrey in Living Color because I'm that old.
Yeah.
And like
I
loved him like from the beginning, and then in Living Color got canceled, but then it wasn't too long after that Ace Ventura, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber came out, and he became the world's like biggest star.
Yeah.
And then I remember watching, because I watched Wayne's World, but it was So I Married an Axe Murderer that like I really liked Mike Myers. And I love doing accents.
Big fat head.
You know, hey, head, right? Like, yeah, I love doing Scottish. I love doing accents back then. I love doing silly voices. And because I think like I was never like an athletic kid or a tough kid or anything like that. Like Jim Carrey was like, that's where I felt seen, was like a silly guy who does voices. Like that's like, he was my guy.
I love it.
And I was 12. So like I was the prime age range for that.
Yeah. I can remember the way like both those guys' movies were like, part of like the soundtrack of being young. Like you were like repeating all the lines with our friends. And what was I remember like my grad trip, we had The Spy Who Shagged Me. Like it played on the bus when we went to Quebec City. So it's just like, it's so important to my life, but it's like the stupidest movie.
Yeah, you have all these like moments. When I was in high school, I worked the birthday parties at Silver City.
Oh my God.
And so like I can't tell you the amount of times I've seen Spice World.
Oh no, I didn't
so
like
many
seeing
times.
it once.
No, it's horrible.
This was the Spice Girls made a movie.
That's right.
And it was like really bad.
It's really bad. And
Even
then
if, like,
Scary Spice got groped by an alien. Do you remember that?
I don't. What?
Yeah, aliens show up, of course.
Shit. Kind of like that's the quality of the storytelling. It's just throw some aliens in.
No, this is like that was a pure milking of the public. That's what that movie was. There was no genuine art there.
Yeah, it was like, these girls are the biggest thing in music right now. Let's make every kind of product we can.
Absolutely, yeah. Platforms, were they the ones that brought platforms back?
Oh God. Yeah, because I think they had just gone out of style. They always come back.
As a kid, I remember platforms being associated with the 70s.
Yeah. And
then,
there was a brief moment at the beginning of the 90s where there was a whole 70s movement.
Okay.
And then that died. And then the Spice Girls came back and were like, more platforms.
Yeah, huge. It was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I miss the 90s, though.
I have a bit about it. It just like peak culture. It was before like, because 9/11 was the true end of the 90s.
Yeah.
Right. And then the economic downturn wasn't long after that. And it was like the good times were over. right? But I don't know. I wouldn't trade culturally, like my childhood, like that period for anything.
Yeah. I also feel like there was a lot of music and art was very serious in the 90s. Like there was a lot of, I don't know, like the grunge scene was kind of more heavier, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like my favorite album still to this day is Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. Like Smashing Pumpkins, like I think that album is the best ever. And like I've heard Billy Corgan talk about it now, how like the music industry didn't really like the stars that they had in the 90s because they were very outspoken.
Yeah, and yeah, people were political. They didn't, like a lot of Hollywood actors at that time wouldn't do commercials and wouldn't wear the gowns to the, like a lot of people were kind of more serious. And I just, because I was young, I just thought that was how it was supposed to be and how it would always be.
Yeah.
And then when the 2000s rolled up, everything turned, and I felt like there was a real, like people got really into shopping and Vegas and designer brands and Paris Hilton.
Yeah, like
and I was like, I was surprised.
Yeah, well, do you remember like it was in that mid 2000s time that like the Strokes and the Vines and like all of those bands that were kind of like copying older rock music, like it didn't feel like anything that organically grew. It was just something that they thrust upon us.
Yeah,
but they played by the rules.
Yeah, it was a very slick and it didn't seem like a bunch of guys in a band.
No, I mean, do you remember like Fiona Apple like won some music video award and said the world is bullshit on stage? Like that's like that was our those were our people there. Yeah.
Oh my God, Fiona Apple is so important to my life.
Really?
Yeah.
I saw her.
You did?
I saw her at the Phoenix touring Tidal.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I would have loved that, except I was very agoraphobic at that time, so maybe not.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I would love to see her in concert. She's incredible.
Oh yeah, it was great.
Have you seen the Smashing Pumpkins in concert?
I saw them touring Melancholy the Infinite Sadness at Maple Leaf Gardens.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Life-changing moment.
Yeah, like the first couple albums I bought were like 2 Metallica records, and I think at the time they were just too much for me at like 12, 13 years old. But then Melancholy came out and I just listened to it on repeat all the time. So yeah, when they came, I went to go see it, and it was like
Melancholy is their second album.
It's the third one. It's the double.
And it's got like
Tonight on it, Bullet with Butterfly Wings, Zero.
That's my favorite one off that album.
Yeah, 1979. Like to me it's like there's no album.
Siamese Dream is the first one.
That's the second one.
Oh, what's the first one?
The first one's called Gish from like the very early 90s.
Is there a track on it I would know? Not
really. It's not super popular. I think it's only really popular to Smashing Pumpkins fans.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, so Siamese Dream is the second one. That's got Disarm and Today on it. And then Melancholy is the third one. That's the double. And so that's why to me, it's like, name me another record that has 28 songs that are all good, that vary in style that much. I don't think, like, it taught me to like expect more of music. I waited my whole life to find the album that would surpass that one, and it never came.
Oh my God.
To me, in my opinion, like I would listen to bands later. Not that I dislike them. Like I remember the first Korn album came out, and like I listened to that, and I was just like, oh, I guess they just do one thing.
Yeah.
You know, whereas like Smashing Pumpkins would have acoustic, electronic, psychedelic rock, alt rock, like they had everything.
Yeah. Some artists just have more variation, and I don't know why that is. Because I think you can be really good and still be somebody who always does kind of like a very similar thing. Like why one person is more. Like, do you find that at all in your material? Like, do you have any stuff that doesn't fit with the other stuff?
Oh yeah, I think, and it happens more as I go. Like I would write some jokes that were like really hard hitting, and they just didn't fit in my set. Like I've had things like I've got a dead joke folder, where I just like I put all the stuff that doesn't work.
But like, is it like jokes that they work in that they're funny, but you just
like or if it's something, if it's a joke in and of itself, and I put a lot on social media with that stuff. Like if it's a joke that it's just a joke, I don't know what else to do with it, I'll just put it up on social media, so that way it's not wasted.
Yeah.
But like it doesn't have a place in my set. I don't know how to expand it.
Yeah.
So there you go.
There's some stuff that I have that's really absurd.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a bit about wanting to block out the sun,
Mm-hmm.
and I have another bit about like the characters of McDonald's Land, but I'm taking it really seriously and like describing their politics. So then, but the rest of my comedy is more like me talking about my life and me giving opinions on things. It can be maybe a little bit bizarre, but like it's
I think
regular stand-up. So then to have this like weird absurdist stuff, I'm like, I don't know what to do with it.
Have you tried to like just work it towards the end? Because I kind of figured out with my set, like I've got some stuff that fits for me, but it's a little too hard for me to open with.
Yeah.
So I start with the lighter stuff and it gets progressively heavier hitting as I go along.
Yeah.
And so by the time I get there, they already like me. So I think like that's kind of how you can do it.
I can do it. I have done it like if I'm doing like, 7 minutes or 10 minutes to just end with the weird thing. Yeah. But I'm like, because I always think of my material like I'm trying to build it an hour, and I'm like, where would I put the weird shit in an hour?
Yeah. But if it's good, then it's always just worth hanging on to, because you never know when you're going to have your set expanded and you're like, oh, that will fit perfectly.
Yeah.
Right. Or you'll like think of, you'll think of like a new bit, and then you'll be like, oh yeah, that will flow into this thing that I've had on the back burner forever.
Yeah.
Right. And so if it's funny, always keep it, but just, not everything gets to make it.
Yeah. What was it like for you when you started to do longer sets? Like being on stage for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, like.
I haven't done that many 30s. But I think at the beginning it's tough. Like you look at 20 and you're like, geez, like you so rarely get to do 15s and stuff. And then you're going for 20 and it like makes you scared. But then I think the more you do it, the more comfortable you become.
Yeah.
And then, like for me now, 20 doesn't like feel like much. It's kind of par for the course. But I think the biggest thing is just being prepared. Like I knew like the first time I was doing 20s, like I was going through the set the whole day in advance to make sure that I wouldn't forget anything and that I wouldn't, be at 15 and be like, what do I do next?
Yeah. Cause I think the first time I ever did my 5 minutes, I prepared, I did it a lot by myself.
Yes.
Walking around this room.
Yeah.
And I would always like record it into my phone, but I wouldn't play it back. But for some reason, when I'm recording, it keeps me from getting bored and I can like go through my set longer. Which
is, I think, is a great practice. I actually did that today where I just wrote out my set from memory. And I think it's a good way to stay acquainted with the material. And those are the times that like a tag will hit you, right? So I try to do that a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think at the beginning I would do it, and then like every comic does, like I would rush through it because you're more concentrating on hitting all the things you need to hit rather than being in the moment. And I think over time, the more comfortable you get with that amount of time, then the more you can like take your time and catch your breath because you know the material. And now I'm at this place where I don't know if it's because my set is growing too, but it's like, oh, like I would end it at 20. I'd be like, oh, like usually that would be like 15. But I can tell that I'm slowing down and being okay with silence while I'm setting up the next thing. So, but I think at the beginning, I would be overly prepared and I would rush.
Yeah.
Right? I would always try to tell myself to slow down.
And just like that practice.
Mm-hmm. I think like anything, the more you keep doing it, the more comfortable you'll become. Like my plan is to, now that I have my teeth fixed, I can get new headshots done and then I can do new posters because I want probably in the fall, do my own headlining sets out of town. So I can start to do 30s. So I can do that more regularly because the goal is to get to 45, but how do you do that when you're only being given 20s? So you need to make it those opportunities for yourself.
I find like, it's a big thing for me that I can't get longer sets. And I really like at this point to get a lot of 15, but what I usually get is 10. Yeah. So it's like I never see how my material works in a longer form. Mm-hmm. But then it's like, I think that's me. It's like I think getting those sets isn't so much about being the best. It's just about like people who are good at getting shit, right? Like,
what do you mean?
Like making the effort to just like throw your own show or go like try to book gigs out of town.
Yeah, I think like for when I did the Morningwood tour last year with like Aiden and all those guys, like it arose out of the fact it was just like, look, we're not getting thrown a lot of stuff in the city, and the audiences are tougher in the city anyway. So like, let's just go ahead and do our own thing, and then we could start. I was starting to do 15s on a regular basis, and like it really helps.
Were you guys kind of doing like an equal set? Yeah,
we would kind of figure out who would be the host, and then everybody would just get 15. So there was no like headliner technically, just whoever went last.
I feel like, yeah. And then what cities did you guys hit up?
Oh boy, we did Sudbury, we did Trenton, we did Trenton a few times. We did Chatham, St. Thomas, Windsor. We did a run up in Ottawa and like Belleville. Did we do? I think we tried to do one in Etobicoke. It didn't happen. We did Barrie a couple times, but
our Barrie crowd's fun.
Barrie's great. Yeah. The last time, I think it was about a year ago we did it, and it was on a Thursday, but it was the Thursday before Good Friday. So it was like a Friday. So it was crazy sold out. And yeah, it was a great show. Nice. Yeah. I love out of town shows. Like I love.
Are you from Toronto?
I wasn't born here, but I was mostly raised. No. Like I was raised in Thornhill. So like the suburbs of Toronto, not Toronto proper.
But still in like the vortex of Toronto.
Yeah. Like I could get to downtown from where I lived as a teenager.
I'm from London, so we it was a bigger effort to get up here.
Yes.
See a concert, do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was a commitment to try to. Yeah, London. I remember London, like used to be a cooler town. Like, do you feel that way? Like London. Yeah. Like I had cousins who were from there. And like it felt like I always felt like people from London always reminded me from like people from BC. They just had this like kind of laid back kind of like attitude. But now, I don't know, London feels kind of scary now.
Yeah, I feel like even though we weren't Toronto, like I feel like we were like a sizable city. We were pretty cool, and it was like a good vibe there. It's sad because you kind of like. I was just home one time and I was at this like downtown mall that's like dilapidated. Yeah. But I remember it when it opened and I was like 10 years old and we all went to the mall and then it was in the background of all my youthful downtown stuff.
Is it the Galleria?
Yes. And I was like,
that mall is frightening.
I felt so sad.
Can I just take off this sweatshirt? I am sweating.
Yeah. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
My apartment gets hotboxed because I have like a big row of southern windows, and then they haven't turned the heat down, and my window, I have one small little window, so it can't cool the place off. And it's I remember in my church days I played a game of Bigger and Better. Do you know that game where it's like you start with like a paper clip and then you're like, can you give me something that's bigger or better than this? Have you ever played
that
this
game? Yeah, so you like go door to door with like you start with a paper clip, and then I ended up with a like free window air conditioning unit that I put in my apartment, and then all my roommates would like hang out in my room because it's the only cold room. And
that's amazing. So that guy who did that paperclip thing, he was playing an existing game.
Yeah, it's a real game.
Okay, what's it called?
Bigger or Better, or the paperclip game. I think that's what it's called. But Bigger or Better is what I knew it as.
I want to see a comedy of this.
Of that game, just to see well, I remember there's
smaller or shittier.
There was like an A&E show about it where like it was like these two guys that would essentially like play that game, and a guy would start with something really small and he ended up with like a monster truck or something like that, and he would sell it.
That's incredible. We used to play a game in high school that was like called like Impossible Mission, and you would have to like get somebody to do something that was really hard.
Okay.
Like, and the greatest like moment of it was like some girls were given the challenge of like get weed with no money. Yeah. So they went.
I feel like for girls that could be pretty easy.
They went to Dairy Queen, and their friends who worked there gave them treats of pizzas. Okay. And then they traded the treats of pizzas to their dealer.
Yes. Very ingenious.
How did we get on the paperclip game? Oh, you got the air conditioner.
Oh yeah, that's right. I had it. Yeah, because your apartment's hot. Yeah, I got the air conditioner. Yeah, it's great.
So, when you kind of like got into comedy, like doing it, Like, do you think that would have happened if not for COVID?
No, I think it was a whole bunch of things like happened in my life leading up to it that made me be like, yeah, it's now or never. But I think it was COVID that got me to step away from the things that I was already engaged in.
What were
church? Hard, yeah.
Are you a big church guy?
I was.
Okay.
Like right up until the pandemic, I was like hardcore evangelical.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
I thought you had like evangelicism in your youth, but this was like
no. So I have a weird kind of like background in it because I wasn't raised in it. I don't come from a Christian family. When I was 17, I did 10 grams of magic mushrooms with my cousin from London, and I freaked out and I had this like big God experience, and then it just got me to like totally change my life around when I was in high school. Like I was a really rebellious teenager and stuff, and then I started going to church, and that's where I met like some of my closest friends, and that's where I met my wife. And so I was like, before I was doing comedy, I was like a semi-professional praise and worship guitar player. So I always thought music was my thing.
Oh, I thought you were just like a dad.
No, I did. Like I played guitar in front of like 2,000 people, like these huge events and stuff like that. So before, when I was in high school, I thought I wanted to go into theater. Like I got into two universities for theater, but I ended up going to Bible college instead because of this experience. I totally ditched it. I thought the idea of pursuing like acting or entertainment was like a selfish pursuit, so that's why I didn't do it. Working for the church is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then when the pandemic hit, I had that moment of just like, do I only like doing this because I like playing guitar? I just had that moment where it's like, and then I don't know. So going back to Jim Carrey, I've told this story a million times, but I watched that Jim and Andy documentary. Have you seen it?
Man in the Moon?
No. It's a documentary that it's like a 3-part documentary. It's kind of about Andy Kaufman, but also like a biography about Jim Carrey. So it's got all this historical footage of Jim Carrey's career where they're interviewing him now, and then all this behind the scenes footage of them filming Man on the Moon. And so he's got this line in the documentary about his dad, because his dad was a great musician, super funny guy, but was kind of afraid to make the move to the US and pursue it for real. Became an accountant, took the safe route, and then got laid off in his 50s.
Yeah.
And so Jim Carrey has this line where he says, like, I learned that you can fail at what you don't love, so you might as well do what you love.
Yeah.
And like when I heard that, it kind of just hit me in the face. Like I was just like, I started writing jokes the next day. I was just like, it's time. Like I'm 38 years old. At the time I was 38. I'm like, if I don't do this now, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And I just went. Yeah.
That's crazy. Will you tell me more about your evangelical? Are you still part of an evangelical church?
We attend, but like I don't believe it the way that I used to.
How do you believe it now?
Honestly, I don't know. I kind of like
it's so
no, it's
about,
no, it's
like,
fine. I'm happy to talk.
faith.
I'm such an extrovert that I kind of think things through by talking. So
okay.
Like I'm still very much a God person. Like I definitely believe in a God. I definitely think that like Christianity is like a net positive for the world. Like I don't think the idea of human rights as we have them now, like I think they originate from the Christian message. But I'm just at this place where I'm kind of just like cynical about the church.
Yeah.
I kind of don't know how I feel, because the evangelicalism today is like, the Bible is true, we interpret it this way, and if you don't think of it that way, then you're not a Christian. That's kind of like the attitude that they take. And basically, I don't know, well before this I was listening to this podcast where they were talking about hell. And so like in evangelicalism, they hold to the traditional hell view, the eternal conscious torment view.
Yeah.
But there's 2 other hell views. One's called universalism, which is basically some way or another Jesus saves everybody. Everybody goes to heaven. And then the guy that they were talking to on this podcast was a guy who was super conservative, because I was super conservative Christian. Like I would have debated you that the earth was 6,000 to 10,000 years old, like pro-life, against same-sex marriage. Like all of the boxes that you would check, like I checked them because I thought, I believe in God now. I'm a Christian. I'm going to be part of the team, and I believe what the team believes. And I never thought a lot for myself. I just loaded myself up with the team's arguments, which I could articulate very well.
Yeah.
But I never really like, there's some of it that I just didn't own for myself. I just kind of took them on, because you have these things, I think in other religious communities, they call it like your shelf, like all the, like you encounter a problem and you don't know what to do with it. So you put it on your shelf. And then what a lot of people do is they keep putting things on the shelf until the shelf breaks.
So what, do you remember the moment when your shelf broke?
Well, I don't know if it happened. I don't know if it's happened, but I think like it was that so that podcast, there's a third view, which isn't really, it's not a predominant view, but it's called annihilationism, which is basically that if you believe in Jesus, you get to go to heaven. And if you don't go to hell and are tortured forever. Your soul is destroyed and you just cease to exist. And that's where the annihilation comes from. And actually, if you look at the Bible when it talks about the fate of those who don't believe, the vast totality of the verses point to annihilation, not eternal conscious torment. And what I would find is so I was just like, oh, I think this is the real view. But evangelicalism, like if you hold that view, especially in the US, there's churches you can't belong to. There's schools you couldn't belong to. You can't be a pastor some places. So I'm like, if they're wrong about this, then what else are they wrong about? And like, I couldn't shake it. And all of the Christian friends that I tried to talk to about it, they kind of they didn't want to engage in it.
Yeah.
And then it was just scandal after scandal after scandal. Like a guy who I was really, really like the guy who was the best man at my wedding was a pastor, and he went down for like, child porn and soliciting people online. And it was like brutal. And it's just, how many times do I need to watch this story play out of, we bring in a very charismatic guy to do the teaching and preaching on Sunday. People come through the doors to see him. We start to make money. He gets power, and inevitably he screws that up either criminally or sexually or something like that. And then the whole church crumbles.
Yeah.
So like there's this big case in Ontario, this church called the Meeting House, where their lead pastor had an affair like really early on. It was like an 8-year-long affair, and the whole church just collapsed. It was the closest thing to a mega church Ontario has. Destroyed, utterly destroyed. Just like, how long do I have to watch this? I just, and also at the same, and it comes like, I'm an older guy now, I'm in my early 40s. It's like, I'm not really at the point where I think the guy on this stage has his life any more together than me. So why should I listen to you about how I should live my life? So I don't know. It's like, I really like God, and like, if Jesus is saving people, I will take it. Yeah. But like, I'm done kind of beating myself up and not feeling good enough. Like,
yeah. What do you think? Like, I know there was like the acid trip, was it?
I had mushrooms, yeah.
Mushrooms trip. But do you think there was something in your life as well? Like the fact that you were raised with no religion?
Well, I think I think it was more for me is like that mushroom experience. Like, I come from a pretty broken home. Like, my parents got divorced when I was super young. It was like a brutal 80s divorce. Mm-hmm. And so I had that mushroom experience where I felt like loved and known by like this entity outside of myself. Like, that's what like turned me on to God. And it's still one of the most important like experiences of my life. But what were we talking about? Sorry, what was the original question?
Like if there was something in your life.
Oh yeah, sorry. And then I went to church, and then I got love bombed. And so when you grow up unloved, you're just like, oh, these are my people. Finally, people are being nice to me and care about me and are invested in my life for the first time. You're like, no one. Like, I dove into church because it was just like, oh, these people actually care about me. So yeah, I think I gravitated towards it because I came from a bad house.
Yeah, I think about evangelicism a lot, not just because of like the Trump stuff now, but I just feel like my whole life there's been a lot of evangelical stuff going on politically, and then I'm always like, why, like, why is the movement so strong? What are all those guys up to? Like,
I don't know. I think like I think the big thing is it's hard for me to know because it's so American.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's such an American thing that it's almost cultural at this point. Like, I don't but so it's a voting block, and they want to defend their rights that they feel are being encroached on. And
yeah, but I guess there's
I don't get it, because I think like we as Canadian Christians, we're not nowhere near as hardcore as they are.
Yeah. But even like, what about like the evangelical church in Canada, you feel is like separate from like the religious right in the US?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. You would probably bet that evangelicals in Canada vote conservative. I think that's probably a safe bet. But our version of conservative is far more like an American Democrat.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
This is something that's really funny. I know I don't really want to talk politics, but like people are like, oh, we're defending women's rights. I'm fairly certain the Canadian Conservative Party like said that they weren't going after abortion in like 2004. That's like they wrote it into their policies that it's not like a thing that they're concerned about.
Yeah.
So like in Canada, it's just Christians are not the same. And the other thing is that Christians in Canada, we're not a majority.
Yeah.
Right?
Although, is the country still majority Christian?
Maybe in name. Because I think the big thing is, like on my dad's side of the family, they're Catholic, right? But there's nothing, they're not like Bible reading. They couldn't tell you how many books of the Bible there are. They couldn't tell you about theology. Like, it's just something they do.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily something they believe or live out.
Yeah. I grew up in the United Church, which is like pretty lukewarm. It's like Protestant, but
evangelicals would we look at United and we're like, you're not real Christians. Like United Church was the first one in Canada to, I think, be okay with same-sex marriage, and so like the rest of the evangelicals were like, bye.
It was like 99. I think the United Church started blessing same-sex marriages, and then the government didn't do it till like 2004. So we were ahead of that.
Yeah. The United Church was like, and there's lots of kind of, I think those are called high church denominations. Like Presbyterian is kind of like that. Anglican is kind of like that. What's it called? Lutheran. Kind of like there's kind of these older. There's no smoke machine at those churches, right?
Yeah.
Right? They kind of do like it's like stripped down Catholic in a sense. There's less pomp, no hats.
Yeah.
But it's also there's no electric guitars either.
Yeah, they didn't. I think my mother would never let us belong to a church where you'd have to hold hands in church. Like, you hold your own hands.
Yeah, like there's always things like whenever the church does a thing, it's like they say something on the front at the front of the stage and then you have to like repeat it back. I'm like, that always felt culty to me.
Yeah.
There's just parts of it that I was never, because I wasn't, and that's the thing, because I wasn't raised Christian. I wasn't culturally Christian.
Yeah.
And so it was like, just like in comedy, like I never truly felt like I fit in.
Yeah.
Like I had my people, but like they never let me have the microphone.
Oh.
Yeah. I did speak in front of the youth group sometimes, but like, yeah, they.
But you have like a pastor kind of vibe.
Oh yeah.
Like, and you went to Bible college?
Yes. I thought I wanted to be a pastor, and then I realized that I was not nice enough.
Oh.
Yeah. Because I'm kind of a dick. Like sometimes I'm kind of like in the comedy world, I'm known as like a nice guy, but like in the church world, I'm like the bad boy.
Yeah, because comedy has a lot of assholes in it.
Yes.
But I get what you mean. Like a pastor is kind of like really, they're dorky, right?
Yeah.
They have a level of kindness, and
I had this phrase that I would use, like I never met an associate pastor I couldn't beat up. Like they're all these kind of just dorky dudes, and like I never really like got along. But and this is the thing, like the constant thing with being disappointed in church, because like the one guy that came out who wasn't like that was this pastor named Mark Driscoll, and he like started like kind of like a really kind of conservative but cool Christian movement in Seattle. 20 years later, the church goes down in flames. Turns out he's like an asshole, and he's like choking people behind the stage and stuff that. And like basically they called in a consultant to appraise like how the church is doing, because he's been accused of all these different things, nothing sexual or stealing, but basically he was a dictator. He ran the church like a dictator.
Yeah.
And then instead of like owning up to it and trying to make amends, he quit. He just quit the church. And they were a multi-site church in Seattle, and in Oregon they had some locations. The whole thing explodes. And then he just starts a new one in Arizona and just keeps doing the same stuff.
Yeah. That's how
but he was like the guy who was just like, yeah, all these Christian dudes are like these weak losers. I'm like, yeah, they are weak losers.
That's kind of their brand.
Yeah, like it just and I
turn the other cheek.
Yeah, you never like spoke your mind or told that you just be nice. To like that's what being a Christian is, just be nice. And I don't know, I was never quite like that.
Yeah. I went to a Catholic college and I was surprised. Like, I feel like Canadian Catholics are pretty moderate too. Yeah.
And that's what I mean, right? Like, cause like for them, it's something that they like grew up in. It's something that you do, you get your first communion. Yeah. It's just like, but it's not something you really like own. I don't know a lot of Catholics that are just like, yeah, gung-ho, Jesus, yeah. Right? Like they're just not like that.
Yeah.
Whereas like evangelicals are like, I know Jesus. He knows me. I know all the songs. I know all the verses. Like it almost part of the thing that did me in was like, I'm not a big reader. I'm not a big intellectual, but like to be an evangelical, it almost felt like you needed to be like a part-time Bible scholar.
Yeah.
To really be a Christian. And I was just like, I just don't. I'm just not like that.
Like to be in shape, you don't have to like get any licensing around that. You just go to the gym once a week. Like you don't have to be an expert.
Yeah. But then you'll have pastors in the US who are just like simply going to church on Sunday isn't enough to get into heaven. Like there are guys that are like that. You think you're good, you're not.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're
okay, so also I feel like I hear this online with like people who are posting who came out of evangelicism, mm-hmm. and they'll say like they didn't have access to like the broader culture growing up because they were only getting their church music,
Christianese.
So they're like people who discovered typical rock bands. Mm-hmm. In adulthood because they were just listening to
or their parents wouldn't let them. Like so many Christian kids, like I went to Bible college, like I was just like every other kid. The Simpsons was the show. That was the show we all watched. I'm fairly certain it's why I try to like talk like Troy McClure. Like that's I think that's where it comes from. But the Christian kids that I went to Bible college with they didn't know it at all.
Oh my God! So you're at college and you can't make Simpsons.
I couldn't quote this. There was like one girl who like knew the quotes, and she would like we became like best friends. But like all the other people, they didn't know. I remember some guys like were playing Dungeons and Dragons in like a lounge room, and like they got yelled at by like an EA. Because like Dungeons and Dragons, devilish. Yeah, like I don't know the full story, but I know that Christians really went after Dungeons and Dragons in the 80s.
Yeah, there was a bunch of that, like Ouija boards.
But back to what you were saying, I remember at the church where I was like a youth leader at, the youth pastor had a poster, and it had whatever secular band you were into. Here's the Christian equivalent.
Oh no!
And they always sucked. They almost always sucked.
Yeah, but I have heard worship music that was good. Like it's weird to have that as your only music.
Yes,
but I do respect that people want to make music from like.
Worship music is huge, and there was a time, especially in like the mid 2000s, where like Christian metalcore was just as popular in secular culture as it was in church. So like
was Creed?
I think they were kind of vaguely.
But there was a lot of bands like that. Or more like metalcore.
They were like the Christian ones were way heavier. So like back then, we're talking 20 years ago now, like Under Oath, if you ever heard of them, As They Lay Dying. There's like kind of a post-hardcore band called Thrice, like they were Christian. So there's lots of bands that were like, they were Christian, but they weren't like rubbing it in your face. And you couldn't even, because they were screaming, you couldn't really understand what they were saying anyway.
And like, you know, like a lot of metal just has biblical references.
Yeah.
So it's not as...
Yeah, there weren't like I know there's a band called Killswitch Engage, like their singer was Christian, and so there was a lot of it, and for some reason the music was so good that people just kind of accepted it. But then
and I remember that about like hardcore punk, and like that there were a lot of
Yes.
The straight edge kids and the Christian kids, there was like weird overlaps.
Yes, there was. Christian hardcore was like a big thing.
Yeah.
There's a record label called Tooth and Nail. I think they're still around now. And they really championed a lot of popular Christian bands that were popular outside of Christianity.
So were you part of that whole music?
I loved it. I was always into heavy music. So like for the fact that like the bands on the leading edge of heavy music at the time were Christian was like just made it even better.
What was like, did you have, where did you go to Bible college?
It was a school called Tyndale. And at the time it was buried in a suburb at Bayview and Steeles.
Oh shit. So did you just still live with your family?
I lived with my parents for my first year, and then I ran out of money because it was private. I didn't have like OSAP or anything.
Oh no.
And then I realized like, well, if I get a regular degree, then I could still be a pastor if I wanted to, or I could get a real job where if I only get my degree from the Bible college, I'm kind of pigeonholing myself to this one thing.
Yeah.
And so I dropped out of Bible college and I moved out at 20. So like I had to get out of my house as soon as possible. So I had to figure some things out. And then I just finished at York and I got a history degree.
Okay. Did you still do some religious studies at York?
Yeah, but like not traditional. Like I did like a history of Islam course and stuff like that. So, but it wasn't religious. I didn't have a religiously focused major. No.
So I did history poli-sci, and I wish I want to go back to school sometimes and do like a religious studies.
Yeah.
Just to know more about all the different religions. Yeah,
well, and that's the cool thing is because from a different stance, because as a Christian, like I was really into apologetics, which is it's like the philosophical practice of defending the faith. Ooh. And so what I would do was learn about other people's religion so I could debunk them.
Oh shit. You are an asshole.
Yeah. Your religion are like incoherent here. That's why I don't believe it. You shouldn't either.
Do you ever think back and go, actually?
Oh yeah, there were times where I was just I don't know. I think I really changed as a person around the time I hit like 36, 37. Like I think was it Jennifer Lopez that said like boys don't become men until they're like late 30s. I think that's very true. I think I was like a really insecure person. I think like a lot of that being argumentative came from that too.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I don't feel the need to do that.
But I had a big switch in my life at like 35 that initially I attributed to like me getting sober. Mm-hmm. But now I'm like, no, I think it's middle age.
Yeah.
And I hate I don't want to be like making people feel old and pushing the number back to 35. But I kind of think it's like there's a moment when you start to sort of like have more comprehension that you're going to die someday, that you're not different from older people.
I agree. I think I almost had this moment, like, not to say that I'm some tough guy who doesn't fear death, but I don't think I fear it existentially like I did before. Like the idea of it just being nothing is kind of okay. Whereas when you're a kid, like the idea of nothing, going to sleep forever, you're like, that's terrifying. Yeah. Right. And then, I got to that age where I was just like, oh, I didn't see death the same way. Kind of like slowed down, stop being like, I don't know, just kind of, you just like when the dog gets neutered, you just kind of like just takes you down a notch. That's what middle age is.
I guess I think that's a weird way to say it.
Have you ever seen that? What happened? Do you ever have a dog? Like the before and after that happens?
No.
Yeah. So we got a puppy last summer, but we only neutered him like a couple months ago, and he just calmed down a lot. A lot.
Did you also have this thing where that's like you used to think like your generation was different from other generations? And like there's a point where you see somebody who's 10 years older than you and you just realize like they're the same kind of person you are.
I don't know. To a degree, but it might just be like that age we are, or the time that we were born, because we're Zennials, right? Were you born like in around 1980?
1980 on the dot, yeah.
Okay. So we're that cusp year where like we are the last generation to have analog childhood.
Yeah.
But we came up with the internet and technology. Like I remember I was like 4 or 5 years old teaching my dad how to program the VCR.
Yeah.
But I think we all hate boomers. Like, I think I don't know. My TikTok is just full of people shitting on boomers. That's all it is.
Yeah.
So much of it.
It's the housing jealousy, right? Like, because they had the easy life, and it kind of fell down behind them.
But are you seeing all this stuff about like it's a newer trend where adult children are disconnecting from their parents?
No.
You haven't seen that? Like it's a growing trend of millennials in particular who are just like, fuck this. Like I'm not, like I haven't spoken with my dad in 5 years.
Oh, okay. Because I kind of
and
think
I'm not the
people
only
don't
one.
talk to their parents. It's usually something that started when they left home. But
well,
this is like something that's happening.
It's like New York Times has written articles about it, like, and recently it's a growing trend, and I see, and again, maybe because the algorithm knows the things that I'm interested in, but like, just people are just like, I don't have to put up with bullshit. Like, I don't have to put up with, just because you're my parent doesn't mean that I have to like take you shitting on me every decision I've ever made, every time I see you.
But do you think it's something specific with boomers, or just with like with Gen Z kids, like the children of are the Gen Z getting cut off by their adult children?
I guess we'll have to see, but I mean, some Gen Z would be the descendants of Gen X, right? And so, which I feel like I'm closer to Gen X than I am with some Gen Z, like millennials born in the 90s. I was trying to say
the Gen X's kids, like, are they going to get cut off?
Well, yeah, well, Gen Z would be cutting off Gen X. I guess we'll have to see, but I haven't heard a lot about that. But it does seem like a thing to be about boomers.
And you think, is that what's driving it?
People are, again, I'm generalizing. I don't know anything, but like that boomers are kind of like narcissists. Like they think that you should kowtow to them. Like when you have grandchildren, that they're owed time with them. You know, like they won't respect your boundaries, things like that. Like I know a person who has anxiety about having children because they know that it'll probably precipitate a disconnection with their mom.
Yeeks. Yeah. Because
they know that mom will want in on that kid.
Yeah.
Like I'm hiding identities and how I'm speaking, but like I know somebody who, when they got pregnant, their mother-in-law bought a crib first.
Oh no.
For their house.
That's terrifying. Your falling out with your dad was 5 years ago?
Yeah.
And was it tied in with the whole getting into comedy?
Yes, for sure.
And but he's not part of the church.
No.
So was he bothered at all when you got into that?
Yes.
But he wasn't happy you left?
He doesn't, I don't think he knows that I'm like not really,
again, like you didn't really leave. Like
my wife wants to go. I'm happy to go. I'm like, I think that we're handling it. Like we're not forcing it down our kids' throats. We're not really aggressive about it. I'm not like, I've never told anybody they're going to hell. Like we're just not that type of people. I don't think it's bad to necessarily have like a place in your life where you kind of center your focus on moral choices. Like,
yeah,
I think there's lots of benefit, and there are benefits. Like people talk about all the time, the benefits that come out of being part of a religious community. And a lot of the ex-Christians that I read about, the thing that they miss the most is the community.
Yeah.
So I don't see it as like entirely negative, but like I'm just not clocked into it the way that I was before. Like to me, I go, I show up, I'm there.
Can I ask a bit more about your dad?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Is he just shitty? And
yeah, I think that, well, I made bad decisions when I was a teenager. Like my dad worked for Sears and I worked for Sears and stole, right? My high school girlfriend got an abortion. Like I was never a great student. And I think that my dad never really was able to unsee me as that person.
Oh. And
I kind of just felt like, I don't think, other than marrying my wife who he loves, I don't think he's approved of like any decision that I've ever made. And he's never, and he's not shy about it. Yeah. So like the falling out was just him saying something that made me kind of realize like, oh, I think the person in the world who has the least respect for me is my own dad. And like, and you can't unknow that.
Yeah.
You know, like now that I know that, like, I'm sure that he'll play nice to see his grandchildren, but like, I'm not going to let you hang out with them if you secretly hate me.
Yeah.
Right. And so then I just made, and it's funny though, because I made the decision, like, I'm not going to talk to this guy anymore, but it seemed like he made that same decision. Like I said, if he ever wanted to reconnect, that I would be willing to do that, but he never has. Like, he's never been like, hey, let's talk, or what's wrong. Like, that's never happened.
Fuck. Are you still in touch with your mom?
Yes.
But she's divorced from your dad.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then are there siblings?
Yeah, so I have a brother who's a couple years younger than me, and he's my only like full blood sibling, and then I have a half sister and 2 half brothers from. Okay. Yeah.
The brothers are from your dad.
The brothers are from my mom, and the sisters with my dad. And so yeah, I like my sister. I talk to, you know, semi regularly. She's 13 years younger than me, so I'm, you know, I wasn't really in her life. Like I moved out by the time, you know, she was 7, 8 years old. And then my younger brothers, because my mom lives in Hamilton, so I didn't see those guys. I'm more like an uncle to those guys. Yeah. So not that I don't love them, but like they're born in 95 and 98. We're just like different generations. We're not super close. And now they both live in BC. So like I see them even less. So yeah. I'm always happy to see them. I love my brothers, but like I just, you know, it's not the same because I didn't grow up with them. Because that's the other thing I should say is my brother and I were split up. Oh. So like we lived together for a bit, but there was a time I didn't see my brother for like 5 years. So like I lived with my dad and my brother lived with my mom.
That's an interesting choice.
I won't get into it on the podcast, but yeah, it's kind of messed up.
Yeah, I imagine. Okay. Yeah. So you're still tight with him?
My brother is like one of my favorite people in the entire world. I think he should be doing stand-up. Like he's like the funniest person I know.
I feel like a lot of comedians have this, like their funniest friend who isn't doing what they're doing.
Yeah, it's like my brother is like effortlessly funny. He's got these ways of saying things, and just, you know, he's a secure enough person that he doesn't need this. You know, that's the other thing about comedians that I've heard so many of them say, like, I wish I didn't need this.
So
like,
wait, was he living with your mom and you were living with your dad?
Yes.
It makes sense that he would be more secure than you.
Yeah. So, it was, we had different upbringings.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. So good riddance to talking about your dad.
But yeah, sure. Yeah.
No, but like you're glad he's out of your life, I guess, is what I mean.
I'm not glad about it because I think about him a lot. I wish I didn't, but it just because you sever that relationship doesn't mean that it goes away. Yeah. Right? Because you think about it, but it was the moment that by the time the pandemic hit, I had already been depressed for a year because in 2018, I like got into Jordan Peterson. I started to believe in myself for the first time, and I lost like 40 pounds, and I was trying to, you know, get better at work, and I started taking an ADHD medication, but it actually gave me anxiety and depression. Oh no. And then and because my doctor is just like, we'll diagnose by prescription. Like if this works for you, then we can tell. But like I started taking this medication, I would just like cry for no reason, like a pregnant woman.
Fuck, that's really scary.
And so then my dad said that thing to me, and it just spiraled me out of control. So I was already in a bad place by the time the pandemic hit. Yeah.
That's really scary, actually.
Yeah, it was.
Do you have ADHD?
Maybe.
But you're not on.
I'm not on anything, no.
Okay. Fuck.
But I don't know. Maybe our phones gave everybody ADHD. That's the thing. Yeah. Because it's destroyed our attention span.
Yeah, it's definitely in my family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Both my brother and my sister are both very high functioning, hardworking individuals, and like I'm the bum.
Yeah, but even like, I don't know. It's also weird. Like I know I have anxiety, and anxiety can look like ADHD, and ADHD you can have both. I don't feel like if I have ADHD, I want to treat it. I just feel like I have learned a lot of things about coping with my anxiety. Yeah. And that's good enough.
Well, and the other thing about ADHD is like when you are focused on something, you're really focused. Yeah. You know, like when I'm in flow with like writing comedy, like I love that, you know, and I don't know.
I
just
have,
because you
I
think
have thought
it just
about
means
it too,
that
like if because people say, you know, it's you're neurodivergent, and it's like if the bulk of people are here, and then there's like a small amount of people who are sort of like with ADHD, maybe like you're designed for performance.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be performance on a stage, but there's lots of performance jobs like driving an ambulance where it's like, so it's not really a disorder. It's like your mind works slightly differently. So you're really
you're just
good at
suited
these
to
functions.
you're just suited for different things. Like I have, you know, I had like a regular kind of sit at your desk day job. And during that time, during the pandemic, I did like a psychological occupational assessment. And it like number 1 was sales and number 2 was performance art.
Yeah.
Like live performance. So I was like
not sitting at a desk.
Not sitting at a desk. Neither of those things, right? Like I'm such a hyper extrovert. Like I should have gone down those roads, but like I didn't know they were available. And
yeah.
So
I've thought that stuff too about like I should have realized stuff about myself sooner, but I kind of think it's good that I found out later because it caused me to have certain experiences in that middle part that inform the art that I'm making now.
Yeah, like I think, you know,
and who I am.
Yeah, it was just like if I undid what my life was, like I wouldn't have my wife, I wouldn't have my kids, like I wouldn't have the things that I like about my life now if I had started doing comedy when I was 18.
Yeah.
Like maybe I should have, but you know, it's no sense regretting how it went.
For sure. I've really enjoyed having you on.
Oh, has it been an hour already?
It has been.
We barely talked about comedy.
I know. Can we plug anything of yours?
Yeah, I mean, well, always just you know, look for me on Instagram, like Jay Rainville Comedy, or on TikTok. I think I'm just Jay Rainville. Always doing shows with Yuck Yucks, and then also buy my card game that I made with influencer Brad Goss. It's called Identity War. You can find it at identitywar.com. It's a real game, a politically incorrect card game where you play to become the most oppressed person. Yeah, every card is a joke, and yeah, it's a fun game. So please buy the card game.
Amazing, and come find Jay at Yuck Yucks.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thanks for having me.